and Commissioner of the National Capital Planning Commission. James Blair, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it very, very much. In your role on the National Capital Commission, Planning Commission, tell us, we'll put up your tweet on the full screen so people can have a look at that while we're talking. Tell us where you think the Fed has gone wrong.
Well, look, my role in the National Capital Planning Commission is basically to advance the federal government's interest in the development here in our nation's capital. This body went through a process back leading up to 2021, as the chair has stated, and ultimately the commission approved the plans. But since then, no revisions have been submitted to the National Capital Planning Commission. I posted on my X account, as you mentioned, a binder showing all the materials. They've not submitted anything since then. And there's a reason that's important. Chair Powell said in front of the Senate Banking Committee at the end of June that plans have changed. All of these features, the opulent features that have been discussed publicly, he says are no longer there. And all we're saying is, okay, well, that's a knowable fact. That's a provable fact. I would like to see all of the plan revisions since the commission approved them back in 2021. So that's step one. Step two is we want a site visit. We want to see this thing for ourselves. We've requested that of the Fed. I will tell you, they gave us a sort of ridiculous time of 7 o'clock tonight they wanted to go. They said you can come on the weekend after hours. We said, no, we're not going to do that. Bring us during the workday. Let us see what's going on. We want to see what's happening and show us around. And there's no reason that they shouldn't be transparent. I'll say, in the plans they did submit to the commission back in 2021, they specifically said that the architecture of the building is meant to connect to the transparency and openness with which the organization seeks to operate. So if that is their goal, there's no reason they shouldn't let us in. They should show us all of the revisions, and they should just let us see what's going on and whether or not what the chair said in front of the Senate Banking Committee is true.
Well, James, you know, I've got the letter here. It's a very interesting letter from Jay Powell to Russell Vought, Director of the Office of Management Budget, dear friend Russell Vought. And when you kind of parse through it, and when you kind of look at the Fed's fact sheet, you know, frequently asked questions, the way they've ginned this up, they've sort of said, well, you know what, this National Capital Planning Commission is a nice bunch of folks, and we love consulting with them, but we don't work for them, and we don't need their approval on anything. Now, I don't know statutorily whether that's true or not. You know, that's what the Fed says about everything. We're independent, and we don't work for anybody. We can do what we darn please, whether it's interest rates or monetary policy, or here it is, building a Taj Mahal or upgrading a Taj Mahal. But you, perhaps in a word or two, what is the relationship between the Capital Planning Commission and the Federal Reserve Board?
Yeah, well, obviously we disagree with that, and I think you'll see the General Counsel, which is not somebody the president installed. I think you'll see the General Counsel of the National Capital Planning Commission object to that sort of framing, that there's no responsibility here. Two, let's put the statutory aside. Let's just go by the building plans they submitted. They said they want to be open and transparent. So if they're not going to be, what does that say? And other elements of the letter are a little bit ridiculous. The OMB director Vought asked for why the cost overruns have been the way they are, and the Fed chair said, well, basically costs went up, costs of materials and labor. And obviously there's a critique of interest rates and missing transitory inflation. I would say if you can't figure out a 30% cost overrun in a timely manner, what does that say about your management of the global economy as a result of managing the American economy's monetary policy? It just doesn't make any sense.
I love that last one, by the way. Yeah, there are cost overruns because the cost of living has gone up, because the Federal Reserve screwed up back in 21 and 22 and 23. I mean, you're right. Whose fault was that? Well, boys and girls, it was their fault. The other thing is they're making a statement. I'm again referring to the letter back to Russ Vought. No VIP dining rooms being constructed as part of the project. There are, however, historic multi-use rooms. I don't know what that means. Conference rooms for mealtime meetings. I mean, it's all very vague. But then they basically are saying they are making only small revisions to the 2021 plan you referred to. Only small revisions. They were so small, James, Blair, that in fact they didn't have to touch base with anybody. They were too small to touch base with, I don't know, Maybe their inspector general, maybe not, but certainly not the National Capital Planning Commission. That's very, Fed-like again. Like we are just, we're too important to be dealt with here, and what we regard as small, you can't do anything about it. I mean, if you can break down that wall, you'd be doing a hell of a job.
Well, we're going to find out. We're certainly going to try. Look, again, this is ultimately about openness and transparency. I am going to request all of those small revisions they referenced. And let's talk about the big picture here. He said this has been a carefully managed project from the beginning. We know that's not true. In 2021, there was a March Inspector General report by the Fed's Inspector General. And recommendation number one was you don't even have a project management policy where you would keep budgets, where you would keep schedules, where would you have a policy about holding contractors accountable. We recommend you put that in place. I want to know, did they put that in place? And I'll leave you with this comparison. The U.S. Capitol building, in today's dollars, cost about $2.1 billion to construct. It is 5 times the square footage of the Fed. It houses 5 times the employees of the Fed. It has underground tunnels. It has underground structures, all of the reasons that he has said, sort of the costs of balloon. And some people think it's going to $3 billion. So again, explain why this building's renovation project is costing over $1,900 a square foot, more than twice the average cost of the renovation of any other historic federal building.
The only good thing from the Fed today, or actually was last night, you got finally a Fed governor is breaking away from Jay Powell and wants to lower interest rates right away in July. Mr. Christopher Waller, I just note that. I always look for some good news. At least someone's listening. I know the president's been saying this for months and months and months, but, groupthink may be forever punctured at the Fed. Who knows?
I hope so. We appreciate Governor Waller obviously starting to chart a different course. And as the president has said, it's not just the chair. There is a board of governors. They have a responsibility to hold him accountable, hold the organization accountable. We should get out of groupthink. All the signs in the economy are there. We call him too late for a reason. He was too late on managing the cost overruns. He was too late on managing inflation. And now he's too late on cutting the interest rates.
Yeah, spot on. Anyway, Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair, we appreciate you coming on, sir. We really do. Thank you ever so much. Good luck when you go into the Fed.
Thank you.